We all think differently. And as our different ways of thinking collide, so we are here left to debate. Despite me saying not to label me emo because my dark art style is just a way for me to cope with depression, and I'm more complicated than just a label, there are still a few people who argue that they can call me emo because I act like one. That only makes me question how we think differently. So am I emo? Am I not? You have 5 seconds to choose which one is correct before I reveal the answer. In fact, both are correct. The reason is that there are different ways of thinking: social, moral, concrete, and abstract. Social reasoning says that you're emo because that's your social identity. Moral reasoning says you're not emo just because you need to express. Concrete reasoning says that you're emo because of your looks and actions. And abstract reasoning says that you're not emo because we're too complicated to be defined. I found some people missed the abstract representation of the original video when they said I can't blame others for labeling me, despite blaming not meaning to be present. For the character I told not to label me is my guilt demon I've struggled with due to childhood bullying. But that's alright, as it brings up a few interesting arguments. Thank you for allowing me to think deeper on this subject. That is what we call people that act like this. This is an example of social and concrete reasoning, classifying people to better understand them. Yet it's highly arbitrary, as one person would call me emo and another goth. Secondly, it is unsuitable to use social reasoning to argue against an originally abstract reasoning, despite being both correct in their own way. Abstract thinking is rational and thinks. Social reasoning uses intuition. If I call you creative, I can call you emo. Let me give you a few words: creative, emo, strong, smart, sea, and furry. Can we organize them into 2 different categories? It is unnecessary to reveal the answer, as our natural ability to separate these words show that they're in fact different and therefore an illogical comparison. In the absence of language and culture, creativity can still exist within our natural self, but emo cannot because culture and language must exist for it to exist. But this can't be correct socially, as both categorize. But emo is artistic expression. Yes, originates from. Still, life is not a biography. Hardship is not a movie. Writing is not a poem, and artistic expression is not emo. But if I were truly to address things from a social perspective, we can draw a tree diagram with the trunk being dark artistic expression. Emo and goth has roots in punk, while my style derives mainly from fantasy, art, and thought, with a touch of influence from punk. You're emo because you're emotional. There's a difference between emotions experienced during depression and being emotional. Depression comes from within and influences thoughts, emotions, and values, and is like a black hole. Emotional reactions come from outside and are brief reactions to outside forces, and it's like a roller coaster. I am not easily influenced by outside emotional forces, rather emotions caused by repetitive thinking. You didn't show exactly why you're not emo by definition. If I did go down the path of showing exactly why I am not emo by definition, I would be operating off of social and systematic thinking instead of abstract. In logic, definition is a statement where every A is B and every B is A. Due to the highly arbitrary nature of the term emo, such logical consistency is impossible to achieve. I do not wish to use an arbitrary definition to prove a logical abstract point. These are all examples of social points arguing against what was originally an abstract point. Of course, it's nobody's fault, as there wasn't any intended aggression and most of them held a more curious nature. And here we all are, intuitive beings at heart with a talent for logical thinking. Indeed, how beautifully paradoxical are we, as we debate a debate that was never meant to be in the first place. Thanks for watching, and a shout out to RageWolf AJ for this fan art.